Oh, lads, today I am currently in my kitchen because I'm just not bothered walking out there. Why am I not bothered walking out there? It is 15 minutes until I get to hopefully watch a great Leeds man, a big fan of the old Leeds United, Erling Braut Holland, go out and cook England. Hopefully we get to watch him go into a World Cup semi-final. But I will say this, we have got a weird situation on our hands when it comes to the Stephanie White, Caitlyn Clark situation. And I said this in a live stream clip earlier, and it's going to be. I'm still going to upload the video anyway because I talk a little bit about what I expect from the Fever, and I feel like it's how many minutes Caitlyn Clark doesn't really matter, but doesn't matter too much. But it has been confirmed Caitlyn Clark is still on a minutes restriction, um, and that they're not going to be playing her in 3 minute spurts again. Not gonna lie, I somewhat call BS. Why? I don't think they went in intending to play Caitlyn Clark in in spurts where she got subbed off 2 minutes and 18 seconds into the third quarter, and Ty Harris was called off the bench a minute and 45 seconds into the third quarter. They had planned to sub her off. She got subbed off for a turnover where Ariel Atkins flicked the ball up with her foot. She pulled a Kobe McDonald, flicking the ball up on the move with her left foot. There's not one person that understands that reference. But still, she got yanked. We gotta be honest here. She was not sat in that second half on Wednesday for reasons of like we want to put her on a minutes restriction. She was sat because she was sat. Like, it is what it is, and I don't like Stephanie White immediately coming out and saying, "Oh, we're not going to play her in these short spurts anymore," or on Sunday, because she didn't play her in those short spurts for any reason other than tactical. Yes, she was on a minutes restriction. Yes, the original sub out when she was playing well in the first quarter after 3.5 minutes was what she wanted to do. It was the way she ran Caitlyn at the start of the year. She played Caitlyn 3.5 minutes, then she would sub her off for 3.5, and then she would play Caitlyn the last 3 minutes and sub off Kelsey Mitchell then. Her rotations basically are to make sure one of Kelsey Mitchell or Caitlyn Clark are on the floor at all times, and without giving either of them ideally over 30 minutes a game. That was the original plan. That plan's gone out the window. But we got to be very clear. Caitlyn Clark being on a minutes restriction, I don't think is going to affect her minutes. And why am I saying that? I think Ty Harris is going to be, I'm not going to say the main point guard for this team. Like, Ty Harris is not going to start a game this year that Caitlyn Clark is there. Like, that's just not happening. Like, we can be real here. There's no world, no matter what you think, there is no world, the optics of that happening where Caitlyn Clark is coming off the bench. If it was to happen, I actually don't think Caitlyn would take it that badly. I don't think she would publicly take it that badly. She wouldn't pull a Skylar Diggins, but like, yeah. My guess is that Caitlyn complained. Saying like, oh yeah, she's on a minutes restriction, which is basically the same amount of minutes restriction, but we're not going to play her in those weird spells and weird rotations anymore. My assumption is Caitlyn complained about it. Whether it was in I don't like, why did you do this? I'm fine. Didn't help, or it was what the fuck are you doing? Why the fuck did you do this? Like, the tone can be very different with this, and I don't see Caitlyn Clark being the confrontational type. Like, there is people are like, oh, she's not an angel. No, she's not. Like, there's a big difference between Caitlyn Clark off the court, who seems to be the least problematic, least confrontational person, and Caitlyn Clark, the second competition of any sort starts, and she becomes a psychopath. And I mean that in the best possible way, by the way, saying she becomes a psychopath when there's any competition. Like, there are a lot of people that are wired that way. She's obviously in the, like, and people that tend to be wired that way either do one of two things. They either, in whatever competition they're in, they either excel to the top, or they're done playing sports by the time they're 18. Or if they're a tennis player, they might have bankrupted their parents by smashing tennis rackets. But yeah, look, it is what it is. And at least her minutes restriction is going to be higher. But the way I'm looking at it, I'm like, it's going to be higher, but to what extent is it really going to change anything? Like, everyone's like, oh yeah, Stephanie White, she's on a 25-minute per game minutes restriction. It's like, I'm going to be real. I don't think Stephanie White would be playing her over 25 minutes anyway, even if she was healthy, with the way things are going in. Like, there's only a finite amount of minutes. And it's at the stage now where they will not play Alexi Hull or Sophie at the 2. They'll play there are players that can play at the 2. They won't play either of them 1 second at the 2. But there's only a finite amount of minutes for Caitlyn Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, Ty Harris, Raven Johnson. There's only a finite amount of minutes for them. And the fact is Raven Johnson will not be playing minutes at the 3. Why? Sophie Cunningham's not going to play at the 4. So Sophie and Lexi are going to share minutes. So there are 80 minutes combined for those 4 players. If Kelsey Mitchell's going to play 33, let's just say 33 minutes being conservative. She might play 30. She's probably going to play 35. Let's be conservative, 33. There is 47 minutes for Caitlyn Clark, Ty Harris, and Raven Johnson. Raven's playing minimum 10. That gives you 37 minutes for the 2 of those players. Ty Harris is playing more than 12. Maybe Raven goes down to 7 minutes. But Ty Harris is playing 15 minutes. What does that mean? Caitlyn Clark's minutes, and this is even if Caitlyn wasn't injured, out of those 80 minutes, there's 23 minutes left for Caitlyn Clark. So it's very convenient. It's a very convenient minutes restriction. When the minutes restriction allows them to play the rotations that they probably want. And that's the problem with having 3 point guards in your team that need to play. Why do you have 3 point guards that need to fucking play? I get it. You planned for life without Caitlyn Clark, and I understand that. I fully understand that you don't trust Caitlyn Clark's health. If you don't trust Caitlyn Clark's health, why the fuck did you not trade her when you could have gotten Paige and AZ in the offseason? You could have. You absolutely could have. If you shopped Caitlyn Clark before, you couldn't get either of them now. You couldn't even get AZ, who at times is anonymous. You couldn't even get AZ for Caitlyn Clark. I'm not sure you could get Carla Layton a first for Caitlyn Clark from Portland right now. Like, that is the way it's going. Like, their trade value is probably tanked, and you have drafted 3 point guards, and everyone's saying they brought in Raven Johnson to eventually replace Caitlyn Clark, and I don't necessarily think they did that. I think they brought in Raven Johnson as a player that can play with Caitlyn, which has been true. I don't think they brought in, Ty Harris is the opposite player. Like, did they bring in Ty Harris to replace Caitlyn Clark? I don't think so. But I think it's a happy accident that Ty Harris runs Stephanie White's system perfectly. I think Stephanie White wanted Ty Harris, so that when Caitlyn Clark is off the floor, we can run my system. The problem is you can't have 2 different systems based on whether one player is on the floor or not on the floor. It will just confuse the fuck out of players. It confuse the fuck out of teams. You cannot have 2 different styles of play. Not just systems. You cannot have 2 different basketball philosophies based on whether or not one player is on the floor or not. In the same game, yes, you can go in, if Caitlyn's injured and healthy, you can go in 2 different with 2 different ways. You can go in with 2 different mentalities. What you can't do is that. You can't swap that. You can't have players swap between this gritty ISO style defense versus a free-flowing transition-based team in like a sub. You can't just do that. I don't know what the fuck they're trying to do. And like, I get it. It is the most convenient minutes restriction for Stephanie White ever, because to be completely real, Caitlyn's always going to play more minutes than Ty Harris. Let's not get that twisted. Ty Harris is not going to be playing more minutes than Caitlyn Clark. But like, I don't think they're going to take Raven out of rotation. I don't think Ty's minutes are going down. If anything, Ty's minutes are going to go up. If anything, they could be fucking sharing minutes. We could see Caitlyn's numbers may start with a 1. Her minutes restriction being 25 does not mean she's playing 25 minutes. Because let's be very clear, Caitlyn Clark had a minutes restriction of 20 and she played 15. She played 15, and not only that, 1.5 minutes into the third quarter, Stephanie White decided she was benching Caitlyn for the rest of the third quarter. She decided 1.5 minutes in that she was benching Caitlyn for the rest of the third quarter. And that's not, I'm not saying Caitlyn played well, but it was not her fault they started the third quarter badly. But Ty Harris played the rest of the third. And then Caitlyn's good to go. She starts the fourth. And 30 seconds in, she decides, I'm bringing in Ty Harris for Raven, which guarantees that Caitlyn Clark and Kelsey Mitchell are not finishing out this game together. So, yeah, she made those decisions tactically. They were not minutes restrictions. 3.5 minutes in the second half is not a minutes restriction. Like, that's not minutes restriction. That is benching. And it's the most convenient minutes restriction ever for Stephanie White. Do I think Caitlyn's going to play the same weird rotations? No. But what I think is probably going to happen is we are probably going to see Caitlyn Clark play 4 minutes to start the game, not come back in the first quarter, play maybe 4 or 5 minutes to start the second, not end the second quarter. I don't think we see Caitlyn Clark end any of the 4 quarters. Because I think if this is a close game, if this is a close game, we don't see Caitlyn Clark finish it. But I don't think it's going to be a close game because this team, for some reason, goes from this gritty team where they all play their asses off and they seem to make the right decisions and make shots and have this underdog mentality that spurs them to victories when Caitlyn Clark is not there. And when Caitlyn's there, they're no longer the underdogs and all of that goes out the window. So I don't expect this to be a close game. I expect this to be a blowout. And I expect the fucking conversations of, are the Indiana Fever better without Caitlyn Clark? And I'm going to be real. If they lose this game and they lose it badly, it's fucking hard to argue. It's hard to argue if they're sub 500 with Caitlyn Clark and 4-0 without her. Like, it's hard. It gets harder to argue because very clearly the way this team plays, the way they play together, it feels like, I'm not saying Caitlyn Clark is the outcast off the court or anything. I'm not saying the players don't want Caitlyn Clark there. But we can observe and watch how the team plays. It feels like she is the on the court. She is the problem. She is the one player that doesn't fit what they want to do. And that what Caitlyn wants to do, the team doesn't fit. So anyway, yeah, that's the video. See you guys.